Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of the Bright Now podcast. We're recording this on Monday, February 26th, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. My name is Dash, and I'm the superior Coca-Cola drinker alongside my inferior Dr. Pepper drinker, TJ. What are we discussing today, brother?
Pepsi's better.
Oh, hell no.
A good wild cherry Pepsi, man. Ain't nothing like it.
That's valid.
Yeah, got another great one for you guys. A little Tuesday tidbits action. Starting it off with the Suns beating the Lakers by 10. I know both you and I were both happy with getting that Sunday morning, afternoon win under our belts, right?
Yep.
And then going to be touching on the East play-in race right now and our thoughts on the play-in as a whole to really see if it's working, if it's getting the desired outcome that the NBA wanted once they first implemented that. So starting it off, the Suns beat the Lakers by 10, like we just said. They take us up to, this was a weird thing that I found, NBA.com has us 6th in the conference, and Basketball Reference has us at 7th. That's good. We have the same record as the Pelicans right now. So I think there's something going on with like the tiebreaker situation, but I'm going to trust the NBA's website and say, hey, we're out of the play-in for now. So hopefully we don't have to talk about that ever again, at least from a Suns standpoint. But no, I think the story of the game was we closed really strong versus the Lakers. Royce O'Neal really sealed the deal with those two big-time threes late in the game to really just keep him at bay. Grayson Allen had 8 fourth-quarter points of his own. And we beat the Lakers by 4 1/4 with Kevin Durant and Book combining for 8. So I think that really shows a testament to the role players really stepping up in this one in a game where you wouldn't really expect it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to jump off with. You know, like you said, almost everybody in the starting lineup had 20 points. Like you said, a well-balanced effort to get that W. And you know, they hit on some of the points that we're talking about. But kind of going back to what you're saying about the play-in situation, just to touch on that for a second, I do want to address some of the people that we've seen, you know, in social media talking about how you can't label every game as a must-win game. But at this point in the season, and we'll talk about the play-in a little bit more in the second half of the episode, but you know, Phoenix barely being out of that play-in spot, the 6th seed according to NBA. We could move up to the 5th tonight with the Kings loss, so we're going to go ahead and root for the Miami Heat. But, man, like you said, Grayson Allen led everybody in scoring right there for the Phoenix Suns. We had Royce O'Neal have an absolute career night. Seemed like he heard the message from us and went ahead and hunted for those three-pointers because his 6 for 10 from behind the arc was a performance that was, very much needed. It felt like the 30-year-old had a career-high night, by the way, with 20 and 10 his first ever time doing that. Tied his career high of 20 points and tied his career high of three-pointers made with 6. So, let's go from there. Three-pointers. TJ, did we not say the episode previous, the day before the game happened, that we needed three-pointers?
No, that was the first key to the game that we talked about. It was just we didn't even say that they had to make more threes. It was just get more up there because they're going to start falling at a higher clip. And we end up shooting 17 for 40, so that's 42%, just an absolute great day in 2024 NBA basketball. And the Lakers shot really well too, but with the higher volume, we end up hitting 2 more. They were 15 for 35. And that's a big difference in a game that's decided by 10 points, right? That's 6 points right there just in that individual matchup. So it was just so key, and it felt like in the first quarter, we shot 10 threes. In the next one, we shot another 10. And then just consistently throughout the game, we were just getting them up. And it keeps the defense on their toes a little bit more because they just have to cover so much more ground. If they know we're going to put the ball on the deck and shoot a contested mid-range, we're playing right into their favor.
100%, and I'm glad, like I said, to continue on the three-pointers and role player. I was so happy that the other guys stepped up and did it because to start off the game, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker were doing their classic open threes, doing the pump fake, 2-dribble drive in, and just looking for the pull-up jumpers, and it was very frustrating to start off the game, but we ended up going through with it. To reemphasize the three-point thing, seeing the locker room post-game, Vogel emphasized to the guys that they did good by shooting 43s, and the quote that he had was something we've been trying to get up all year. So, hey, thank God, at least we know that he is aware of the situation. And TJ, something about that post-game, I know you didn't see the video, but I might be looking too hard into it. He gave a bunch of dudes props, like almost everybody on the team except Bol. It could be everything, nothing, I'm not sure. So maybe he just doesn't fuck with our boy. Who knows at the end of the day? But speaking on Bol, I think he does deserve some flowers because, let me get it out the way. Me and you, I'll be honest, and maybe I'm speaking for you too much, but I think we were a little bit too conservative on Bol Bol's playing ability on the court at points this year because his averages in the last 2 games, I know it's a short sample size, but 18 points on 61% shooting 42% from behind the arc as well. 9 rebounds in just a little over 25 minutes a game. Frank Vogel, no more DMPs. We're done with that. We've seen over and over that he's deserving these minutes. What did you see from Bol Bol that you liked?
Absolutely. I mean, everything at this point. And yeah, I think we were going into the season, we were just kind of like, yeah, cool, we got Bol Bol, whatever. Because in every other iteration of his career, it just really amounted to nothing. And it might be a little something with Vogel there, not saying his name. Maybe he still just has problems with kind of how loose he can play, but with this roster, he just gives us he's such an X factor for us, right? Where he can just go in and wreak havoc for, in this game, 23 minutes and 58 seconds, right? And they were great minutes. It felt like obviously Anthony Davis put up more numbers than Bol Bol, but in a lot of aspects, when he was on the court, he was outplaying him and really doing it at a crazy high level. And yeah, so I'm totally with you. He better not get another DNP the rest of the year. That would just be absolutely ridiculous at this point. Just with that, we've seen enough of it to know that it's not like a fluke. He can really go out there and play.
No, 100%. And I love what I was saying. I know we do got those injuries from EG and Bradley Beal at the moment, but we still need to find some room for him. Speaking of another guy that I don't know if we need to find room for him, Saban Lee. You know, he's continued to play very well in his minutes, and I wouldn't mind seeing him to continue to get some spot minutes out there. Still hasn't turned the ball over, I feel like, anytime I've ever seen Saban Lee be on the court, which is, hey, something
surprising.
That we need.
Really surprising, too, because it's his style of play. Like, usually those downhill fast guards just can't help but, like, chuck the ball all over the place. But no, he knows what he's doing. He gets in there and he plays his role, which I think is a great part. And we talked about last episode where when guys' minutes are all over the place, when we had, KB and Metu still going up and down, nobody knew what they were even necessarily supposed to do. And now we're finally getting into a groove where it's like, okay, if I'm going to get minutes on this team, I got to protect the ball, facilitate the offense, and play good defense.
Yeah, which is awesome. I love, and we've said time and time again, the Arizona guy going ahead and doing his thing. I'm very happy to see him out there. Like I said, I know he's still kind of a younger guy. Maybe see him continue to establish a more a real role in this team, because when we're looking over point guards over the free agency, do you want to touch on that a little bit? How there's absolutely nobody out there.
If you look up the list, and they always sort of by like current contract value, and like Kyle Lowry is the best point guard they have listed. Tyus Jones is probably going to be the biggest prize at that position this summer, but we're not going to have the funds unless we do something radical with Bradley Beal, which I know we touched on with him still having the no trade clause and just kind of his value in the league right now. I don't think that deal's getting done. He's probably riding out this contract with Phoenix.
Yeah. I mean, why would you not get in that bag right there and probably going to a team that's not going to be anywhere close to contention, going back to another Washington Wizards situation. But yeah, and I think another guy we need to give flowers to, TJ, is our boy, the Bosnian Beast, doing exactly what we wanted him to do. I know you wanted to touch on this with what he did, but let me just read the traditional numbers before we talk about the eye test. He sprinkled in 18 points, 22 rebounds, and 7 assists. Hell of a game. What else did you see from him, particularly on the defensive end?
Yeah, it was exactly what we had talked about in that same pod, where we needed to make AD a jump shooter. And that's when the Lakers really fall apart, when he's not being dominant going to the basket. That's really how they won their championship, I think, was him being a much bigger force in the paint. And yeah, he did just that. Anthony Davis shot 10 jumpers. He had 6 shot attempts at the rim, according to the Basketball Reference shot charts, which doesn't add up with his final 11 for 17, but I'm not going to read too much into it, whatever.
Basketball Reference fall off? Question mark?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with those guys. My guess is like maybe there was like a heave that they missed, but they didn't give him a 3. I don't know. Either way, there were no shots at the rim in the fourth. He did go 4 for 4 on 2-point jumpers, but all right, Anthony Davis, hang out there and shoot jumpers. It means you're not going to be in the mix on offensive rebounds. It means on other, like you're not. He needs to take more than 4 shots in that quarter anyway. If you're a Lakers fan, that's what you're thinking. So he finishes with 22 points. And so a solid game. He was 11 for 17, it says. That's a solid showing. But when you're going against him, that's pretty much exactly what you want. And then and then after looking at the shot chart, I'm like, okay, 6 shots at the rim. Well, maybe I'm like thinking back, I'm like, he had to have had some free throws, right? Some that just didn't get counted as field goals. 0 free throw attempts from him as well.
Let's get it.
Nurkic absolutely did his job against him, and he's had the last time we played, or when we beat the Lakers before, he did a great job against AD as well. So really like what he's doing against these guys.
Yeah, he's one of the only people that can truly use like his size, because obviously Anthony Davis is a big dude, but he's a little bit on the he's closer to a Kareem style of strength and skinniness than he is to like a Shaq bigness. And I think Yusuf Nurkic really took advantage of that. There's even a few plays throughout this game where Nurkic just straight took it to the chest of Anthony Davis. And AD almost like got a piece of it almost every time. But it was like the big man where you tumble into somebody and you do that little hook in. And he got, I think, 2 or 3 of those. So, I mean, you're not seeing a lot of guys go into defensive player of the year candidates such as Anthony Davis has in these past couple years and just going into somebody directly into their chest. I mean, obviously, AD had a few sick-ass blocks throughout the game, and it's going to happen. But, man, way to go at him, Nurk, dog.
Just an aside on that, you mentioned Anthony Davis and, like, the player of the year candidacy. It's kind of sad that he's never actually went out and won one before, right?
Never won one.
Like, if you like, year 3 for him in the league, you would have put the odds on that as, like, minus 200. It would have been like, oh, yeah, he's definitely going to win a defensive player of the year at some point. Like,
yo, TJ, you would have put minus 200 for MVP his third year in the league. I mean,
absolutely. People were saying he was going to take the league over from LeBron, and he ends up just cozying up to him as his sidekick. So that's just crazy how that happens.
That's awful. I mean, man, I could talk about old Anthony Davis for all day.
And this next part kind of ties in with that Anthony Davis playing. I don't want to say it was soft, but when you're not banging inside, that's kind of soft.
Yeah.
And we protected the glass. That was the second key that we had talked about. Lakers only had 3 offensive rebounds for 34 total. Meanwhile, the Suns with 14 offensive rebounds, 7 from Nurkic himself for 51 total. So we just absolutely dominated the glass on both ends. And that is those are 14 extra possessions you basically get, or 14 do-overs on those possessions, right? So another thing that I really think swung the momentum, or not even the momentum, because it felt like we got out in front of the Lakers and we just held on.
Yeah, can we stick on a conversation with Nurkic real quick? I saw an interesting stat that I was unaware of as a Suns fan, but it does make sense. I know I talked about last podcast, is Grayson Allen the 3rd or 4th most valuable person on the team, but I mean, we might have to give it to Nurkic. We look at the stats, and we are 0-4 in games without Yusuf Nurkic. I feel like I haven't hated what I've seen from him this year. I feel like maybe my expectations were tempered. I was expecting not greatness, but it was, going back to the other situation with DeAndre Ayton, my expectations were low, but in a positive way. Just, hey, whatever we can get out of him. And I think he's kind of exceeded his expectations, especially considering the fact that he's only missed 4 games this year. Iron Man Yusuf Nurkic, traditionally known as a guy who gets hurt all the time. Have you been appreciative of his game?
Oh, absolutely. And I hear what you're saying with in terms of his value. And, like, obviously, if you're 0-4 without him, that's a big difference. The way I would put it is I think Grayson Allen does a better job of raising our ceiling if he's going to be hitting shots at a really high level, and Nurkic is just an absolute floor raiser for us.
Yeah.
Because if he's not starting, we have Drew Eubanks started, and we've had that conversation a million times. At the end of it, you can't get mad at him. He's just Drew Eubanks. That's what he's the player that he is. That's okay.
Get mad at a dog for doing dog things.
Exactly. So I think that's where I view it, just a tad different, but absolutely, like, in terms of just like, we need him every night, and he has absolutely exceeded all of my expectations because we were in the same boat. It was like, hey, as long as it's not Ayton, right? We're gonna have somebody that brings some toughness to the team, and he's absolutely done that.
Yeah, thank God. And just last thing on Nurkic. You kind of already brought it up, but I saw a tweet that kind of made me think about it. What is the gap between him and Eubanks? I saw the comparisons was the Grand Canyon, the gap there between the two. I mean, how far is it for you really? Because you obviously have to factor in all the IQ stuff, the passing ability, the chemistry, the dribble handoffs are much cleaner with Yusuf Nurkic than it is with Drew Eubanks. Is it a clear gap in between the two?
I think it's just like definitely a clear gap. Like, it's a significant gap. But I would say it's just kind of like a classic backup quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Where, like, you have the one guy that's, like, good, or it's like Kirk Cousins. You're like, Yusuf Nurkic is Kirk Cousins, and then Drew Eubanks is fucking Josh Dobbs. You know what I mean? Where it's like it's that kind of a gap where it's like, oh, cool, like Josh Dobbs when he had some like wins and he was doing some really good things, and those are Drew Eubanks when he's finishing lobs and rolling hard to the rim, and But then you see the other side of it, and it's throwing picks, and that's his 1,000 illegal screens. Meanwhile, Yusuf Nurkic is the Kirk Cousins of centers, right? Where he's just kind of the baseline, where it's like if you have a guy like him, that's serviceable, right around like Jonas Valanciunas, Steven Adams, those kind of guys. So that's where like my best analogy for it would be is like Kirk Cousins to Josh Dobbs.
That was off the head, wasn't it? I feel like that was kind of a perfect analysis right there.
I was getting a little shaky. I was like, fuck. I can't think of any fucking yeah.
That was a great comparison. Do you have anything else you want to touch about the specific Suns-Lakers game, or can we go into the future of the Suns?
My last part is just because I just want to pat myself on the back for going 3 for 3 on those keys. Was the battle of the bench.
Oh, you're right.
So the Suns bench led by Bol with 11. We scored 18. The Lakers only scored 16 off the bench. So I know it's not a wide margin, but just in terms of just straight up apples to apples comparison, if our bench scores more than your bench, that puts us in a really good position to win the game. And we averaged like 27 points off the bench per game. And so with this game, with Beal and Gordon being out, it skews that a little bit. We don't have as many of our best rotation players coming in off there. But I love that part of it. And yeah, going back to Bol, no more DNPs.
Bol, oh my God, he is the savior of the season? Question mark. I love seeing non-Suns fans talk about Suns game when they don't watch it because they're just so confused. They're like, wait. Why have you guys not been playing Bol? And it's like, hey, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, buddy. I don't fucking know. Like,
I don't know. I have no idea. Practice must have been horrendous for like 4 months.
It had to have been awful. Because he's even grabbing offensive rebounds that are really crucial. His 7'9" on the broadcast, 7'9" wingspan is just absolutely just so beneficial. But yeah, hey, 3 for 3. Good shit, TJ. I'll go 2 for 2 because I didn't really hit on those bench points last time, but shout out to you. I did, last thing, sorry, with this Lakers game, turnovers, still an issue. Still had more turnovers than the Lakers. If we pull up the stats right here, I think we had
12. Only 12 to 10. That's a pretty 12 turnovers for us.
According to NBA right here, it's 15 to 12. We had 15 turnovers.
What the fuck, Basketball Reference? No, I'm not even kidding. That's 3 times in one episode. That's never happened before. What the fuck? We need to send a letter. And of course, it's the only time we ever cited them too. The 1,000 other times we've used them, never said a word. Even cited. When they're fucking up, it's like, what the fuck, Basketball Reference? Get your shit together.
Are we a misinformation podcast?
I think so now. I think we're officially. We should just dive all in.
Go all the way through.
The Heat actually won the 2020 championship. They need to go back and recount. They need to recount the points.
Recount the points.
Recount the points in Florida.
I'm fucking dead. All right, TJ, I know you wanted to hit on a little bit with the Suns' future. We got a schedule. We definitely got a schedule ahead of us, as we talked about before. The strongest strength of schedule remaining throughout the league, and our next 2 games aren't even that difficult. I mean, you wanted to say that on the surface level, but we just lost to the squad. But who are we looking at?
Yeah, so just before I dive into like the actual games, I feel kind of stupid for this because like I see like it's like, oh yes, we have the hardest strength of schedule. Like I understand that, and then I still look at these games and I'm like, oh my God, this is impossible.
Yes.
Because so we got first two we got on the 29th. We play the Rockets at home, and then we play the Rockets again on that Saturday on March 2nd. So back to back against another tough team. We really got to take both of these just to make up for that one loss. Because it's really going to come to bite us in the ass. Because teams like the Thunder and the Nuggets, they're beating the Rockets. Or teams like the Kings, all the guys that we're really competing with. So then after we go through those 2 wars against this, maybe the scrappiest team in the league, them or the Magic, we were talking about them a bunch today, they're just scrappy units. Then it's the Oklahoma City Thunder and dealing with all of that, all those problems. The night after, we play the Rockets. So on a back-to-back, we're getting the Thunder. 2 days later, we travel to Denver for 1 game. Oh. Then we got another 2 days, the Raptors. And then another 2 days, we get the Celtics, followed by the Cavs.
Are we at Boston Garden, or are we at home?
At home against Boston, but at Cleveland.
Oh, man.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 7 games, including Cleveland. And I'm just going to stop it there because then we go at Boston, and then we just continue the fucking stretch of just shit.
Good God. Yeah, these next 2 weeks are going to be tough. It's definitely going to be a showing as to whether we're really a genuine contender team or not. I mean, at the end of the day.
In a way, this is really going to prepare us for the playoffs, though. The only just hope that it doesn't wear us out for the playoffs. hopefully it gets us in a spot where we're in a groove and we're feeling confident because we did just take down some top tier teams versus us kind of limping in there. Kevin Durant maybe picks up a little hamstring thing. Devin Booker lands on his ankle wrong once or twice, and that just could send us down to the play-in, which I know we're going to talk about next. But that's the number one thing we need to avoid is the play-in at this point. And that's a far cry from when we were talking about, hey, if we're not the 4 seed, we're panicking.
Yeah, panic button might have already been fondled with a little bit as we talked about in the last episode. But no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, looking at that schedule, just being a realist, I don't totally expect us to beat Boston. I know some Suns fans are going to kill me for that, just for not being the optimistic Suns guy, but just flat out, they're a phenomenal regular season team at this point. The Suns haven't showed me anything. That Boston team's extremely well put together, especially in that fourth quarter. I've seen so many times this year where whether it be the Indiana Pacers or we see teams, even at a higher echelon in the East, like say the 76ers, where they came back from down 15 going into the fourth quarter just to pull out with a win. And that's just not our MO. That's not our bread and butter as Suns fans to come through in that fourth quarter. But I think a game that I'm circling on my schedule, if we can get a win, I think it'll be huge just for the morale of the team. I'm circling that at Denver game because that's huge. A phenomenal team at home. Obviously going to be someone that we could very, very, very realistically run into in the playoffs, in the first round potentially. Who knows? And I think that would be a big morale boost for the squad. What do you think is like your circled game on this calendar? You could even say the Rockets. Yeah. You can even say the Rockets games you got to circle because we got to take care of business. Good teams take care of the teams that are younger.
I'll take it. It's kind of similar to what you just said, but honestly, it might be that Raptors game. Because it's sandwiched right between the Nuggets and the Celtics, the two favorites to go to the finals in each of their conference. Yep. And that's a classic game where we're paying more attention on the Celtics coming up than the game in front of us. And that one, on this stretch, when you get to play, the Raptors, we get the Hornets in a couple weeks, the Hawks, the Spurs back to back. Like those are the games that we have to win down this stretch because it gives us some leeway to, like you said, hey, maybe we drop one to Boston and that's okay because that's not the biggest concern in the world, especially an out of conference opponent. But I would worry about that, especially just looking the gauntlet we go to start the season. We play. From March 27th to April 14th, we're only playing playoff teams. That's a month of basketball only against playoff teams. So that's where I would circle it the most. Is that not for an excitement on like that night game, but just in terms of like true importance to this team.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great pick because I could definitely see a team like that having an RJ Barrett 33-point game performance just randomly against us, just not being on our P's and Q's. I think that's a good pick. But I think that's going to wrap it up for that part of the segment of our show, just talking about the Suns' future. Now we're going into something that I've been wanting to touch on here for a little bit, and that's going to be, do the play-in rules need to change somehow? And first and foremost, I love the play-in, TJ. I mean, I think it's already brought us some super cool moments. The one that's most prevalent in my mind is definitely the LeBron 3 for the game against the Warriors in 2021 when he was like, I saw 3 baskets and I just shot the middle one. I think that's a great quote. Just hilarious. Just really shows what LeBron's career off the court has been all the time. Just yapping. But then looking at the West, we see that these teams are all super close together in terms of where they would fall in the play-in. But my issue is with the East. I mean, there's no way in hell, for example, that the Heat, who are currently 6.5 games ahead of the Hawks, should have a chance to go head-to-head with Atlanta in a win-or-go-home situation. There's just no argument to be made. And I know there'll be people saying, oh, well, just win your games when it matters and it won't be an issue. But man, like, brother, we already have enough contention from the masses that the regular season doesn't matter. I mean, do we really need more of that? I love the March Madness style as much as the next guy. And I know that they'd have to win, 1 out of 2. But shit, it can quickly change. I mean, Atlanta could get hot and make a playing spot after being hot ass a whole season. I just don't think it's going to be good for the next season, the 2024-2025 NBA regular season. Do you have any thoughts on that, TJ?
No, I totally agree with you. Like you said, right now the Bulls are 4.5 games back from the Magic. The Hawks are 6.5 back. And that's just a significant enough margin to where those teams don't really deserve to be in the playoffs. Like in the West, 1 through 10 all have winning records. And in 1 through 8, all the East teams have winning records, which is honestly, it's the most balanced it's been at a time. Like there were years where 7 and 8 seeds both had losing records in the East. But it just, like, look, the thing that makes me bring it up, so what first brought the play-in to us was really the bubble, because they had done it there, right? Because when they had that 8-game section to finish the regular season, they said if the 9th seed was within 4 games of the 8th seed, they go to a play-in little tournament. I think it was like best of 3, with the higher seed only has to win 1, the other team has to win 2. And these, like, they just don't. I think we need a rule like that for every play-in, where if you're not actually close enough to the teams, you shouldn't even get a shot at it, because you don't deserve it. Clearly, you've had 82 games to prove what kind of team you are. And the whole idea, I think, was to stop tanking, so that way those teams wouldn't just mail it in at the end of the season. But guess what? Teams still found a way to just fucking suck this year. The Pistons, Wizards, Spurs, Blazers, Grizzlies, Hornets, they all might as well be tanking, with the only exception being the Grizzlies, and that was just all their injuries. Where all those other teams went into the season being like, yeah, we're going to suck this year. Yeah. And that's not – and I know we don't like teams jockeying for position at the end, or like teams that just shut it down, like the Trailblazers did a lot of times with Dame, where they don't even get to like really finish their season strong. But there's other ways you can go about that without allowing just shitty teams to have a 2-game shot to get it into the playoffs, because nobody wants to see the Bulls in the playoffs anymore.
No. Nobody wants to see the Bulls.
The
biggest Kobe White fan in the world knows that they don't deserve it.
The Hawks maybe get a little bit of an exception for how much of a draw Trae Young still is, just as a star, how exciting he can be. But even then, like, I see him a really good amount being in Atlanta, and they're just a disjointed team. Like, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And to stick on with that Atlanta Hawks situation, the news broke that he's going to be out for at least 4 weeks with an injury. Do you see the Brooklyn Nets creeping up maybe in that discussion at all? Are the Atlanta Hawks going to completely mail it in for the season? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, so
they're
the Hawks
3.5 games behind.
Yeah, they're 3.5 behind. They could turn it around. I still don't believe in anything the Nets do offensively. They just brought in a new coach too, so it seems like they're probably going to be playing pickup basketball for the rest of the year for the most part. Like they're just going to be just roll the balls out there and see what happens. The reports are kind of funny that it was like Jacques Vaughn planned their whole offense around like Ben Simmons, and that's why Mikal Bridges and Dinwiddie and everybody was all pissed. Which honestly, I would call for that coach to be fired too. I'd be very fucking pissed. But still, Mikal being your best player, we love him. He was my favorite son when he was on the team. He can't be at number 1, and they don't just really deserve to be in the playoffs either, although they would be more exciting than the Bulls.
Yeah, I think so, 100%. Oh, God, those mediocre Bulls. I just can't say enough of how much I am just strongly disliking them. So, to actually go back to the meat and potatoes of this segment, do you think they should implement those rules? I mean, could you see that realistically coming to fruition?
Yeah, I think it really just should be. I thought it should have been in place from the start.
Yeah.
Like, it's 4 games. That's a reasonable enough gap to where, hey, an injury here or there could have swung your total by 4 games either direction. And yeah, I would like to see it be much more, still reward teams that are being competitive and not just give it to them just because we feel the need. We already have, it's a 30-team league and 20 teams effectively make the playoffs. That's a joke. Yeah.
No, you're 100% right. I kind of did want to talk about something kind of off script here. Do you want to talk at all about how bad the bottom of the league has been? I mean, this has to be historically one of the worst. We've seen a bunch of teams just be absolutely hot dog shit. And I guess that does come with parity with so many good teams in the league, because we do genuinely have, 18 teams that are just like genuinely really good basketball teams, I guess you could say. Eight those top 8 in the East, I would say, are pretty damn good. And then the 10 in the West are pretty damn good as well. I mean, yeah, even Utah and Houston are like sneakily scrappy. Really like some of their games. They're pretty visually pleasing to watch. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it does feel like this year has been just the bottom has been a lot heavier than it hasn't been before. Usually you only have like one team like the Bobcats all those years, the process Sixers that were just kind of the exclusive, kind of the face of being ass in the NBA. and right now with the Pistons, Wizards, and the Spurs, like they all have winning percentages less than 20%. And then you'd say like the Hornets and the Grizzlies are just as ass. And 5 of those teams basically went into this season knowing they were going to be. The Grizzlies at least thought, hey, we can fight. I thought that they were going to fight through those first 25, and then Ja was going to come back, and they were going to be fine.
It looked like it might have happened, too. It looked like it almost happened.
Exactly. But Yeah, I don't know why though. That's the part that I'm struggling to find out, because you think there's way more talent just across the board. Everybody's just gotten kind of collectively better at basketball over the period. So I don't know if it's just tanking went too far, where team like the Pistons, tanking definitely went too far for them. Because like it started the season, they had what? They had like 10 guys that it was their first like 3 seasons in the league.
Yeah, and first round picks too. Like most of them were first round picks.
Like with no adults in the locker room. So I don't know if it's just teams went a little bit too far in that direction. We're going to keep as many if we just get 10 young players in now, maybe 2 of them will be awesome. That's not great for the fans.
It's not great for the product of the league at all. It's not good for the fans.
No, not great for the regular season, because hey, the Pistons, Wizards, Spurs, Blazers, and Hornets, they play all 30 teams. And that just hurts when you automatically, even teams like if you're a fan of the Celtics, you're a diehard Celtics fan, and you see them playing the Pistons, you're like, let me tell my girlfriend we can watch a movie tonight because I don't really give a shit about this game.
Exactly, or just like tonight, for example, you see the Knicks playing the Pistons, and we talked about it before the pod, what games we're going to watch today, and spoiler alert, they're not on my watch list. No. They're not on my watch list. They're actually playing right now as we talk, and I'm not interested. I'm not tapped in.
No, not at all.
But
not at all.
I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching as always, and remember to have a phenomenal rest of your day.